Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline, a guy who's always jumping in feet first, Dennis Pitta. We're going to talk football and maybe some basketball just for fun at the end, but we'll start with this, Dennis. What is your policy on when it's appropriate to start listening to Christmas music, given that it is December 1st?
Well, my policy personally is December 1st, so this is a good day for it. I don't like when people pull out all the Christmas gifts and all the decorations and everything right after Thanksgiving. I mean, we're still in November. It just seems a little rushed to me.
So you're just strictly December listening to Christmas music guy. Okay.
December 1st. As a matter of fact, today we pulled out Elf on the Shelf for our kids. And his name's Buddy the Elf. He's in our house now.
So now, since it is December and we're talking about Christmas, by the way, Jerem says we're not going to get you anything. But if we were, what do you want for Christmas, Dennis?
I want a seat at the BYU Sports Nation table. That's what I want.
Okay.
And, of course, Jerem was too afraid to confront me today. He didn't show up.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, you know how it goes. Fridays, Dennis. Jerem's not always keen on working on Fridays with Dennis.
He values his 3-day weekends.
Maybe he took it off so that he could put up his Christmas decorations and listen to Christmas music today.
Well, good for him.
Dennis, we're talking about buy-in levels, and we'll get your buy-in level on BYU basketball because I know you're a BYU fan through and through at the end of this conversation, but it's hard not to pay attention to what's happening with the BYU coaching staff right now. What was your reaction when you got the news that Detmer had been relieved of his duties as offensive coordinator?
Well, I was certainly surprised. I, like a lot of people, probably thought he was going to get at least another year, and if things didn't look better next year, then this move would be more understandable. I get it, though. I mean, there were things that happened throughout the course of the year that were head-scratchers and decisions that were made offensively that I didn't necessarily understand all the time. But at the end of the day, I still thought he deserved another year, that, you know, he probably should have gotten it. And, you know, I was shocked and surprised at the news that he was let go.
What attributes do you want in BYU's new offensive coordinator?
Well, you have to have a lot of good attributes. And me personally, I think the offensive coordinator position is the single most important position in all of football. More important than a quarterback, more important than any player on the field, more important, in my opinion, than a head coach. Because the offensive coordinator is the one that sets everything for this offense. And the players, as good or as bad as they might be, still have to run the system and do what they're told. And, you know, good players can make up for bad coordinators a little bit, but in the end, it's all about the coordinator. And a good offensive coordinator can take average players and elevate their game. They can take an average quarterback and elevate the quarterback. And that's largely how I judge an offensive coordinator. Can you elevate the quarterback position? And listen, I've had a lot of experience with coordinators over my years. Being with the Baltimore Ravens, I've had 6 different coordinators in 7 years.
Whoa.
And so I've seen a lot of different sides, a lot of different systems. I've seen a lot of different personality traits and attributes that come with the coordinator position. But one thing I've firmly believed from day one is that the offensive coordinator position is critical in football. And so I think this is a huge hire and a big decision for the future of this BYU program moving forward. And so hopefully they make a good decision and have some good candidates lined up. But as far as attribute goes, I want to see creativity, number one. I want to see a system that puts players in position to be successful, no matter the caliber of player. Listen, you can scheme players open all day long. And I always point to this. You look at the Los Angeles Rams. They were the worst offense in football last year with the worst performing quarterback. Granted, he was a rookie, but he was by far statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL. Just 1 year later, with largely the same exact personnel, they brought in a new, guy, Sean McVay, to be the head coach, but essentially the offensive coordinator. Now that offense is one of the top 5 offenses in the league. Personnel didn't change. Nothing changed but the offensive coordinator, the scheme, and the players buying into that scheme. And so you tell me the offensive coordinator isn't valuable. In my opinion, it is the most valuable, and hopefully they do a good job hiring somebody.
Dennis, one thing we do know is that whoever the new offensive coordinator is, it will be his decision on who stays, who goes, what the staff looks like on the offensive side of the football. There's obviously been talk that, maybe Ty's asked to stay in another position. We certainly don't know how he would react to that or how possible that is. If you were in that situation, how would you handle that? What decision would you make?
If I was the offensive coordinator coming in?
No, if you were Detmer, if you were in his shoes, how would you handle that?
Well, it's a little bit uncomfortable in Ty's position, obviously, going from offensive coordinator, then being relieved of your duties. In my opinion, hopefully he would stick around. I think he means so much to this program. He's obviously so accomplished as a football player. I think he's a good football mind. I think he had his struggles as a coordinator, but any new coordinator is going to struggle. I think you have to give them time to gain experience, to learn from some things, and to kind of develop their own identity. But, personally, for me, it would be difficult to stick around. It would be an uncomfortable and awkward situation, but I hope he does. I hope he's able to fulfill a role like quarterback coach or something like that, where he can still be a part of the program as a coach.
Dennis, are you in any position right now to coach any BYU position?
I could coach a lot of BYU positions, but I don't know how well I could coach them. No, you know what? We as a matter of fact, Austin Colley and I were in a group text with John Beck, and we were really trying to pressure John to throw his name in the hat for offensive coordinator. John is a good football mind. He's a coach at heart. He's doing this quarterback coaching stuff in Southern California and is really excelling at it. So I don't think John's going to do that. He doesn't have any coaching experience per se at that level, but we were trying to convince him.
That's a good effort, because I was talking to him on the sideline in Hawaii, and we were joking about the same thing. He said, maybe I am the guy, and I'm just not telling you, Spencer. Like, yeah, John, that's
he might be the guy, and he may not be telling us. I mean, we're close friends with John, and he's keeping it pretty close to the what's the saying?
The best.
The best, yes.
To the best. There you go.
Okay, of anybody that's been discussed, and I don't know how many names you've heard, do you have a leading candidate for the open job right now, Dennis?
I don't. I've heard a few names. I think Aaron Roderick was one from Utah. I think Jason Beck was one. There was a few other names in there. I personally don't have a ton of experience with any of those guys. Don't really know much about the systems they run, their experience, whatever it may be. So I'm not the person to necessarily critique any of those hires or analyze one guy over another. But like I said, it's an important position, and hopefully we get it right, because they can do wonders for this offense even in a year. I mean, like I mentioned with the Los Angeles Rams, they went from worst to the best in one offseason. So it certainly can be done.
Now, if John Beck is the offensive coordinator, which is not going to happen, but if he were, does that include you and Austin Colley getting to be on the sideline with headsets as well?
Absolutely, it does. If John Beck is the offensive coordinator, I will come on and be at least a tight ends coach.
So would you be an on-the-field coach, or would you be a press box coach?
No, I'm an on-the-field guy. I like to look somebody right in the eye and ask them why they did that, why they made that mistake.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, can you imagine Dennis looking at Jerem in Studio B? Why did you say that, Jerem? Why did you make that mistake?
Take me through why you did what you just did.
And it would be a dual role for me. So I would be coach during the day and come and do BYU Sports Nation. I guess it's during the day. You guys do your show during the day. I was going to say at night, but I'd carve out some time for the show.
I'm sure that the coaching staff would be perfectly fine with that.
Yes, I like your emotional state right now, Dennis. Let's talk about the schedule. BYU added Houston, Georgia Southern, and Hawaii to future schedules yesterday. None of those names really jump off the page, but when I looked at the addition of Houston to the 2020 schedule, I thought, wow. That is loaded. You tell me, is this too tough? I'm going to list the teams on the 2020 schedule 3 years from now. You tell me, too tough or just right. Home games: Michigan State, Utah State, Houston, Missouri, San Diego State. Road games: at Utah, Arizona State, Minnesota, Boise State, Northern Illinois, Stanford. What do you think, Dennis?
Well, I actually think that's a pretty good schedule. And listen, this is 3 years down the road. If we had to play these teams next year, I would be very concerned about that schedule. But hopefully we're better at that point, and hopefully, you never know how some of these teams are going to be. I mean, you look at Alabama, for example, their schedule. I think they scheduled out Florida, or Florida State it was, thinking Florida State would be a good quality win for them. And, they did that a couple years ago. Now Florida State was, not even a top 25 program. They lost their starting quarterback, so it wasn't a quality win. And now they're looking from the outside in on the playoffs because they just don't have the resume. So, you look at these schedules, and on paper today they look tough, and that one especially. But we'll see how it goes down the road.
I want to switch gears just a little bit, talk a little BYU basketball. Cougars 5-2. I'm not sure how much you've been able to watch the games, but I'm sure you're paying close attention. At 5-2, our Twitter question today is, how best would you describe your buy-in level of BYU hoops this season? What's your buy-in level with this 5-2 BYU basketball team, Dennis?
I'm all in with the BYU basketball team. As a matter of fact, I recorded the game against UVU. I only got to watch the first half so far, but we looked really good in that game. I love when basketball season rolls around. I'm a basketball junkie and a huge BYU basketball fan, so I'm always excited this time of year. But the team has looked good. I think we've got good balance. Hopefully, we can shoot the ball well. I think that's, a big part of our success offensively. And, you look at that game against UT Arlington, we didn't really show up in that game. We shot the ball poorly and, fell way behind. I think when you look at the season as a whole, that's the one game that's been disappointing. But we played Alabama pretty tough. We've beaten good teams, and I'm excited. I think certainly we're a better team than we were last year. We're more balanced. Our system's better, and the flow of the game, offensively especially, is better. So if we get hot shooting, I think we'll be tough to beat.
All right, Dennis, great stuff, man. Say hello to Buddy the Elf for us.
I will. Buddy is he's a star in our house, so I'll tell him hello.
You got it, man. We appreciate the time, and enjoy the Christmas music as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Have a great holiday season.
All right, brother. Dennis Pitta
Thanks,
on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, your values, your timeline, your financial future.